Amidst the sprawling farmlands of Ravens Hollow, the Hensley family farm was a picture of rural tranquility. It was a place where generations had toiled under the golden sun, tending to their crops and livestock. But beneath the idyllic exterior, a sinister secret lay buried. It was late September, the air crisp with the promise of autumn. The Hensleys, comprised of William, his wife Mary, and their two children, Emily and Tommy, were preparing for the annual harvest festival. The centerpiece of their celebration was an eerie scarecrow that stood sentinel at the edge of their cornfield. Its hollow eyes seemed to follow you wherever you went, and its twisted grin gave off an unsettling aura. For years, the scarecrow had been a family tradition, an heirloom passed down from William's great-grandfather. Legend had it that the scarecrow held dark powers, protecting the Hensleys from crop failure and disease. The farm prospered, and the family prospered with it. One fateful night, a storm of unnatural ferocity descended upon Ravens Hollow. Thunder rumbled like a god's anger, and lightning shattered the sky. The scarecrow, caught in the tempest's fury, was struck by a bolt of lightning. It ignited in a blaze of unholy fire that lit up the night. When the storm subsided, only ashes remained. The Hensleys mourned the loss of their ancestral scarecrow, but they couldn't have known the darkness that had been unleashed. As the days passed, strange occurrences plagued the farm. Crops withered, livestock sickened, and an air of despair descended upon the land. The prosperity that had once defined the Hensleys was slipping through their fingers. Emily, the more inquisitive of the Hensley siblings, couldn't shake the feeling that their troubles were connected to the destruction of the scarecrow. She began to research her family's history and discovered that the scarecrow had been created as a vessel for an ancient and vengeful spirit. Her ancestors had made a pact, ensuring prosperity at the cost of an unspeakable debt. With newfound determination, Emily set out to restore the scarecrow, hoping to appease the restless spirit. She discovered that the spirit's fury could only be quelled by constructing a new scarecrow with wood from the cursed oak tree that had once grown near the farm. A journey into the nearby woods led her to the tree's remnants. As Emily worked on the new scarecrow, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The forest seemed to murmur with secrets, and the air grew heavy with an unsettling presence. She returned to the farm with the scarecrow in tow, but her newfound determination did little to dispel the lingering unease. That night, as Emily and her family gathered around the newly constructed scarecrow, a sense of dread hung in the air. An eerie wind rustled the cornstalks, and the scarecrow's eyes seemed to glow with malevolence. The family began a ritual passed down through the generations, one that would, they hoped, rebind the spirit to the scarecrow. As the ritual unfolded, the earth seemed to tremble, and a deep, guttural voice resonated through the air. The Hensleys watched in horror as the scarecrow came to life, its limbs jerking to life in a grotesque parody of a dance. The spirit, free of its oak prison, exacted its revenge, cursing the Hensleys for their arrogance. The curse was merciless. Crops failed, livestock perished, and the farm withered as if touched by a blight. The Hensleys, trapped in a nightmare of their own making, were powerless to stop the spiraling disaster. They watched as their family legacy crumbled to dust. Desperate, Emily delved back into her research, seeking a way to break the curse. She discovered an ancient tome that held the key. The spirit could only be imprisoned within the scarecrow again by making the ultimate sacrifice. The scarecrow needed to claim a life equal to the one it had given. Emily, realizing the gravity of the situation, decided to confront the scarecrow herself. She would willingly offer her own life to save her family and the farm. With the curse reaching its zenith, she embarked on a final, fateful night. As the moon hung low in the sky, Emily stood before the scarecrow, her heart heavy with the weight of her decision. The scarecrow's eyes gleamed with a cruel intelligence, and a cold wind whispered through the cornfield. In a moment of grim acceptance, Emily spoke words of farewell to her family and made her sacrifice. The scarecrow's grasp closed around her, its limbs coming to life in a sinister dance. The ground seemed to shudder as the curse was broken. The next morning, the farm had been miraculously restored. Crops thrived and livestock flourished. The curse had been quelled, but the Hensleys had paid a steep price. The memory of the scarecrow and the sacrifices it had demanded would forever haunt the family. The scarecrow stood as a sentinel once more, its eyes hollow and its grin forever twisted. The farm had been saved, but the price of its prosperity was etched in the lines of the Hensleys' faces. They had learned the terrible cost of making pacts with dark and vengeful spirits, and the Scarecrow's curse would remain etched in their memories for generations to come. In the rural heartland of Hollowfield, a small farming community was gripped by an eerie phenomenon that defied all logic. It was a story that the locals whispered about, an unsettling legend that had haunted the town for generations. The story centered on an old, desolate farm at the outskirts of Hollowfield. It was known as Hollowfield Farm, and its history was steeped in mystery. The farm had once been a thriving hub of agricultural activity, but it had fallen into ruin many decades ago. The fields had withered, the barn had rotted, and the farmhouse had become a decaying relic of the past. What made Hollowfield Farm truly infamous, however, was the scarecrow that stood in the middle of its overgrown cornfield. This was no ordinary scarecrow. Its tattered clothes, faded hat, and worn boots gave it an eerie, lifelike quality. But what sent shivers down the spines of those who passed it was its eyes, or rather the lack of them. The scarecrow had no eyes, just two dark voids that seemed to consume all light. The legend said that the scarecrow was the creation of a reclusive farmer named Samuel Holloway, who had lived on the farm in the early 1900s. Samuel was known to be a solitary man, rarely seen in town, and never had visitors to his farm. The townsfolk had speculated that Samuel's isolation had driven him to madness. One summer, the people of Hollowfield noticed something peculiar. The cornfield, which had previously yielded a bountiful harvest, was withering away. It was as if a blight had fallen upon it. The locals could only watch as the once green rows of corn turned brown and lifeless. Amid this crisis, Samuel Holloway emerged from his seclusion, carrying a strange-looking sack. He was seen by a few witnesses as he walked into the cornfield and spent hours there, making peculiar gestures and mumbling to himself. The next morning, the townsfolk discovered the scarecrow, the one with the empty eyes, standing amidst the desolation of the cornfield. The scarecrow had not been there the previous day. It was as if it had materialized out of thin air. From that day onward, Hollowfield Farm was said to be cursed. The scarecrow, according to local lore, was a sentinel for something sinister. People claimed to have heard eerie whispers in the wind that seemed to emanate from the scarecrow itself. Over the years, various attempts were made to remove the scarecrow, but each time, misfortune befell those who dared to approach it. Crops failed, accidents occurred, and the curse seemed to protect its eerie guardian. Generations passed, and the story of the scarecrow was passed down from parents to children. Some believed it was an embodiment of Samuel Holloway's tormented spirit, while others thought it was a vessel for something far older and more malevolent. As the years went by, Hollowfield Farm became a place of dread. Few dared to venture near it, especially after sunset, when the scarecrow's hollow eyes were said to glow with an otherworldly light. The farm remained a place of quiet terror, a reminder that there are mysteries in the world that may never be unraveled. The scarecrow continued its silent vigil, standing guard over the cursed land, a chilling testament to the enduring power of legends and the unexplained. Deep within the heartland of Midvale County, where rolling hills were blanketed by golden fields of wheat, the Stantons operated their farm. The Stanton farm was renowned for its picturesque beauty, a tranquil oasis in a frenzied world. Yet amid this idyllic backdrop, a haunting secret thrived. At the heart of the Stanton farm stood a scarecrow unlike any other. It was a towering figure dressed in tattered rags, its features an uncanny imitation of a human form. Its eyes, however, were the stuff of nightmares. Hollow and deep, they seemed to consume the light itself. This scarecrow was no ordinary guardian of the fields. It was an enigmatic relic from a time long past, and its origins were shrouded in mystery. The story went that it had been created by the farm's original owner, Old Man Stanton, a recluse who had lived in solitude. Whispers claimed that the scarecrow held the souls of those who had trespassed onto the farm. One chilling autumn night, when the moon hung low in the sky and the fields were bathed in eerie moonlight, something changed. The scarecrow, as still as death for countless seasons, began to move. Witnesses swore they saw its arms raised to the sky as if beckoning to someone or something. With this night's awakening, misfortune descended upon the Stanton farm. The harvest rotted in the fields, livestock fell sick, and darkness seemed to settle over the land like a shroud. It was as if the curse of the Scarecrow had finally been unleashed. Eleanor Stanton, the youngest of the Stanton children, couldn't bear to see her family's livelihood crumble. She delved into the farm's history, scouring through journals and dusty manuscripts tucked away in the attic. What she uncovered was a tale of ancient pacts and restless spirits. Generations ago, her ancestors had made a pact with the supernatural, binding the spirits to the Scarecrow. In return, the farm had flourished, but the spirits, never forgiving, had come to claim their dues. Eleanor was determined to free her family from this curse. She ventured into the dark woods near the farm, searching for the remnants of a long-forgotten oak tree, an oak said to hold the key to silencing the vengeful spirits. The woods whispered with secrets as Eleanor worked to craft a new scarecrow from the cursed wood. The air grew heavy, and the night seemed to hold its breath, anticipating her return to the farm. As Eleanor and her family gathered around the newly created scarecrow, an eerie wind rustled the wheat fields. Their ritual began, invoking ancient rites and reciting incantations that transcended time. The scarecrow's eyes flickered to life, its burlap face an uncanny mask for the spirits within. As the ritual reached its climax, the very earth seemed to quake, and the scarecrow, now imbued with the restless spirits, began to move. It danced, its ragged limbs jerking in a sinister parody of life. The curse was shattered, and with it the farm's misfortunes were dispelled. Crops flourished, and the once ailing livestock thrived. The spirits, now bound within the scarecrow once more, were at rest. But the scarecrow remained, its eerie presence a constant reminder of the family's enduring connection to the supernatural. The Stantons had paid a heavy price, and the legend of the scarecrow would live on, etched into the history of Midvale County, a testament to the power of family, sacrifice, and the enigmatic forces that lurk within the shadows. In the heart of the serene Hamelin Valley, where the sun-kissed fields of barley stretched like a golden sea, the McAllister farm stood as a testament to the beauty of rural life. It was a place where the earth's bounty flowed freely, and the harvest was the lifeblood of the McAllister family. But amid this agricultural splendor, an unsettling secret lay buried. At the heart of the McAllister farm stood the Scarecrow, an imposing figure with a burlap sack for a head and empty voids in place of eyes. Its presence was eerie, its eyes voids that seemed to absorb all light. The McAllisters had long regarded the Scarecrow as their guardian, a sentinel that watched over their fields, protecting them from the misfortunes that could befall a farming family. Generations ago, it was said that a forebear of the McAllisters, old Granville McAllister, had created the Scarecrow using ancient knowledge passed down through the family. The Scarecrow was not just a deterrent for the crows. It was a protector, a sentinel that stood between the McAllisters and the blight that had stricken so many neighboring farms. The Scarecrow's reputation was cemented one fateful autumn night when a band of ruthless thieves attempted to pillage the McAllisters' fields. In the pale moonlight, they approached the Scarecrow, thinking it a mere obstacle to their thievery. But as they drew near, the Scarecrow seemed to stir. Its eyes, hollow and dark, glinted with an eerie, ethereal light. It moved, its tattered arms stretching out as if to ward off the intruders. The thieves fled in terror, their hearts gripped by an otherworldly dread, and the Scarecrow returned to its silent vigil. For years, the Scarecrow watched over the McAllister farm, its presence keeping the family's prosperity intact. The land yielded bountiful harvests, and the farm thrived while others faltered. But as with any deal forged with the supernatural, there was a price to pay. A century-old journal discovered in the attic revealed the truth about the Scarecrow. It was not a mere guardian, it was a vessel, a repository of souls. Granville McAllister had made a pact with an ancient entity, one that demanded the sacrifice of a soul each generation to ensure the family's prosperity. In return, the Scarecrow offered protection from crop failure, disease, and other calamities that could befall the farm. With a heavy heart and a deep sense of duty, Emma McAllister, the youngest of the McAllister clan, set out on a perilous quest. She ventured into the nearby forest, searching for the remains of a cursed oak tree, the key to ending the pact with the supernatural. In those woods, whispers of ancient spirits seemed to beckon her deeper into their shadowy realm. After weeks of labor, Emma fashioned a new scarecrow using wood from the cursed oak, carrying it back to the farm, a harbinger of a new pact that would sever the McAllisters' ties with the ancient entity. The day was nigh for the ritual that would break the cycle and set the souls held within the old scarecrow free. The night of the ritual was ominous, with storm clouds gathering on the horizon. The scarecrow stood tall in the moonlight, its eyes darker and deeper than ever. The McAllister family encircled the two scarecrows, each holding a piece of their destiny. As the ritual commenced, the earth trembled and the wind seemed to carry the whispers of trapped souls. The scarecrow, as if in agony, came to life. It danced a grotesque, solemn dance, its movements conveying centuries of pent-up torment. Emma led the incantations, a sense of determination mixed with trepidation. The old scarecrow, its role as a vessel ending, released the souls it had held captive for generations. They swirled around the farm like ethereal fireflies, their presence a mix of relief and lament. The climax of the ritual was chilling. As the last incantation was spoken, the souls re-entered the old scarecrow. But instead of the once eerie glow, they now emitted a warm, welcoming light. The ancient entity's grasp on the McAllisters had been broken, and the souls it had held were at last free. With the curse shattered, the farm's misfortunes were reversed. Crops flourished, livestock thrived, and prosperity returned. The McAllisters had regained their independence from the supernatural forces that had bound them for so long. The two scarecrows, one old and one new, stood side by side, silent witnesses to the family's journey. Amid the sprawling farmlands of Harmony Grove, where rolling fields of wheat stretched as far as the eye could see, the Turner family farm was an embodiment of rural tranquility. Generations had toiled in these fields, reaping their livelihood from the fertile soil. But beneath this idyllic exterior, a sinister secret lay dormant. At the heart of the Turner farm stood a scarecrow, an ominous figure with a burlap sack for a head and hollow voids for eyes. It was a looming sentinel, its eerie gaze following those who dared approach the fields. The scarecrow had been a fixture on the farm for as long as anyone could remember, passed down through generations. It was a guardian, a protector against the misfortunes that could befall a farming family. Yet, as with any enigmatic relic, whispers of its true nature lingered. Rumors held that the scarecrow's creation was shrouded in dark magic, a creation born out of necessity and desperation. The legend of the scarecrow was sealed one autumn night when a group of bandits descended upon the Turner farm, intent on plundering their harvest. As they encroached upon the scarecrow, it seemed to come to life. Witnesses swore they saw it move, its tattered arms reaching out to deter the intruders. Terrified and awestruck, the bandits fled, leaving their nefarious plans in tatters. With the scarecrow's intervention, the Turner farm remained untouched by the depredations that had befallen neighboring farms. Prosperity reigned, and the farm thrived while others struggled to recover. But as with any pact forged with the supernatural, a price had to be paid. Secrets unveiled within the pages of a century-old journal discovered in the attic revealed the truth. The scarecrow was no mere guardian. It was a vessel, a repository for a malevolent spirit. An ancestor of the Turners had made a desperate pact to ensure the family's prosperity, a pact that required the sacrifice of a soul each generation. The revelation weighed heavily on Clara Turner, the youngest of the Turner clan. She couldn't bear to continue the cycle of sacrifice. Clara set out on a perilous journey into the woods that bordered the farm. There, the whispers of ancient spirits seemed to guide her to the remains of a cursed oak tree, a key to breaking the family's tormenting bond with the malevolent spirit. Weeks of labor culminated in the creation of a new scarecrow, fashioned from the cursed oak. Clara carried it back to the farm, determined to sever the Turners' connection to the ancient entity that had held them in its grasp for generations. The night of the ritual was shrouded in an eerie darkness, storm clouds gathering ominously in the sky. Clara, resolute but trembling, led her family in the ritual that would release them from the ancient entity's grip. As the incantations began, the earth quaked, and the scarecrow, both old and new, seemed to awaken. The old scarecrow's eyes, once voids, now glowed with an eerie light. It moved, its tattered form performing a mournful, grotesque dance. The climax of the ritual was both chilling and captivating. As the final incantation was spoken, the malevolent spirit, bound to the old scarecrow, was torn from its vessel. It writhed and thrashed before dissipating into a spectral mist that hovered over the farm. The curse was shattered, and the entity's hold over the Turners was severed. With the curse lifted, the farm began to recover. Crops flourished, livestock thrived, and prosperity returned to Harmony Grove. The Turners had regained their independence from the malevolent force that had bound them for generations. The two scarecrows, one old and one new, stood side by side, witnesses to the family's journey of retribution and redemption. The old scarecrow, once a vessel for malevolence, now stood as a symbol of the family's strength and resilience, a testament to the enduring power of love and the courage to confront the shadows of the past.